Session 9 is a very special session because session 9 is where the rubbers hit the road. So during the course of today, we will actually start to see some of the results that people are getting. Now, there are challenges. Anything worthwhile doing, there are challenges, but people are well prepared for the challenges. And as we go through session 9, we'll be hearing about some of the things that they've done to overcome the challenges. Ultimately, people are on a journey. They've planned it out. A lot of knowledge has been passed on to people to understand what they're doing and why they're doing things. The most exciting part about session 9 is that we're starting to see glimpses of the wonderful results that people are going to achieve. So we're looking forward to learning where people are at and the wonderful things they've achieved.
For some of you, you're probably sleeping a lot better. Just out of interest, hands up for those people who are sleeping better. Wow, look at that. So how do I know that the hands are going to go up? Because we're in session 9, that's when it happens.
It'd be probably easier to list the things you haven't been through because it's incredible. It's just incredible, the changes that happen to you. I've been through the juice boredom. I've been through the coming off the sugar. I've noticed the big change from sugar addiction to what hunger actually feels like. And it's very different. And you're able to recognise that as hunger now.
For the last 16 days hasn't been too bad. I did have a touch of having to run to the toilet for a couple of days, but that settled down. It's nowhere near that now. I'm lucky if I go every few days. But I have had a good bit of back pain and a bit of pain under the ribs at the front, which I think was explained by your lung pain. But I did have a massive accident when I was younger, so I'm starting to wonder if that was from old injuries as well. That's the only drawback I've had really, is that bit of pain, which I'm still getting a little bit of now, but not as bad.
So I'm actually day 10, and today was my biggest day where I hit the wall. Because yes, I'm getting tired of I'm getting a bit tired of the juicing, but the information tonight was good, and I'm going to try that with the heating up the vegetable puree.
So today I'm day 12. Today I have broken the fast and I have had some steamed veggies for lunch. Now the reason is when I first started the fast, I went okay for the first few days actually, and then I started getting sick. And after one of the juices, I actually vomited. So that totally put me off any of the juices, and I found it extremely hard to continue. I did try different combinations, and with your help, I persevered for another few days.
I'm loving the juicing. I've had no problems. I did go back to basics. I tend to only have 3, maybe 4 different ingredients in each juice. I found I'm coping with it much better that way. I'm not getting bored because I just change it. So I'm not mixing all the colours up. And I've found that for me has worked, and I don't really get the juice boredom. But since the start, from when we did our first weights and things, I've lost 8 kilos.
The other thing that really affected me was I'm not sleeping well. I'm having very restless nights. Last night I didn't sleep at all. But the positive, amazing thing is that I have energy. I've got amazing energy. So that's a real positive.
Probably the biggest things I've noticed that are positives are I had to buy new clothes, which was great. But today was a real thrill. I went to the chemist. I hadn't had my medication. It was quite early in the morning, and I thought, well, I'll get my blood pressure checked, and then I thought, no, you'll be disappointed because it'll still be up because you haven't had the medication. But I went in anyway, and my blood pressure was down incredibly, and it was the biggest thrill. I think I skipped out of there, and that's great. So I'm looking now at not ever being on any medications, hopefully ever again in my life.
I did feel a lot better having some steamed veggies in my tummy, and it did settle it a lot more. However, I am continuing on to eat healthily and follow the steps that you gave me for when you do break the fast. So I've certainly learnt a lot here and have enjoyed it tremendously, and it certainly is an eye-opener to what is going on in our society with foods and what the government is letting happen to our foods. So it's certainly been great. So I will continue to follow the directions of what you've sent me to eat properly.
I got through a whole weekend with 2 families who were eating everything, everything that I couldn't eat, and I was able to get through that. We went out and they had these really delicious looking meals, and I had my Boost juice.
I have lost 7 kilos since the start of juicing, but from my peak about a month ago, 10.3 kilograms.
I happened to be near a place that made fresh juices, and I sat there with my 2, one green one and an orange one, and I drank them, and it didn't really worry me at all.
Went to my daughter's birthday party, and of course people were eating, and we had our juice.
As long as I've got something to sit there and sip when the others are eating, I'm right.
Since I started on the reducing the number of processed foods, that's been, 8 kilograms, just over 8 kilograms, which is amazing.
Over 10 days I've lost 5 kilos. I started at 65 and now I'm down to 60 point something.
This is my 16th day of juicing. I'm so pleased I've lost 13 kilos. I'm back to the weight that I was when I was 28.
I'm pleased with myself that I got through the weekend, and I'm really anticipating my goal of doing 30 days.
My wife and I are both juicing, so we've had some interesting challenges because I've been making these horrible tasting juices, and then my wife has been struggling with them. And I even threw one out, it was that bad. But now my wife has got on the computer and got recipes, and we've clipped them up, and so we've got something to follow, and getting a bit of variety in and a bit of mint out of the garden.
Well, I'm on day 16 today. The first 7 days I didn't have much weight loss. I have lost quite a bit since the start of the year, so I half expected it, but the disappointment was still there, even though I had sort of prepared myself for it. In the second week though, even though I'd been stepping with my weight, I've suddenly gone down the last 4 days. I've had constant weight drops.
I'm doing full juicing at the moment. It's been a little bit of a struggle between day 10 and day 16. I've been on holidays and with my sister, so I'm a little bit bored with not doing my physical job that I usually have to do, but my positives that I keep focusing on and bringing my little mind battle back to is that my hands don't hurt, I can actually bend my knees, and I can get down on the floor and play with my little great nephew who's 3.
I've gone through the juice boredom. I know a few times there I've sort of looked at it and gone, and left it a little bit longer than what I usually would between my juices, but it was sort of like, I don't know what to do now, but I've gotten through that. I just sort of keep on reminding myself what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and it sort of brings me back to where I need to be, and then I'll sit down with my juice and I'm quite content and happy.
Yesterday there was a barbecue, and we just kept right away from the barbecue. The people that were near the barbecue, we just sat down the other end and a few other people, and that was the way we survived, and had some herbal teas with us as well.
Easter was fine. I did not crave any of the foods that anybody else was eating. I was just happy sitting there with my juicing. I had a few questions and people coming in and asking what I was doing.
Adjusting our taste buds and working it together, and remembering why we're doing it and where we've come from and what we've achieved, and reminding each other of this, that's been really valuable.
Easter was actually really easy. I was an absolute addict with my chocolate. I could devour chocolate to no end. I had no troubles with chocolate at all over Easter, and even to the point where when I was buying for my nieces and nephews. I actually looked at it and I actually can't remember what chocolate tastes like. And for me, that's an absolute massive step.
There's been a few hurdles to jump over, but I think we're both settling down into it quite well now. And I'm looking forward to a change of eating out the other end as well.
My husband tells me I've stopped snoring, which I was a chronic snorer, and I'm also starting to get a bit of feeling back into my feet again.
I do a lot of battling mentally to stay on track and to keep forcing, well, I have to force myself to keep with it and to keep promising myself that I am not going back to where I was with my sugar addiction.
I've had a lot of people sort of asking me what I'm doing. My brother was sort of like, is it healthy doing what you're doing, and trying to explain to him what it's all about and why I'm doing it, and he's very accepting of why I'm doing it. Still can't get his head around a bit like on the juicing for 30 days side of it, but I just told him, like, you can't knock it till you try it. You've just got to go through the journey of it. And I said it's easy from an outsider's point of view to judge it and say, oh no, it's wrong what you're doing, but when you're actually like in the shoes doing the journey, it's a very different story.
I have gone from 100.7 kilos and this morning I was at 91.
Just having the support of everyone, particularly when my birthday's tomorrow. So I've had my family choose out my birthday cake because they're the ones eating it, not me, out of choice. But yeah, just having the support of everyone's really pulling me through it.
I measure my levels 6 times a day. So of a morning now they're down around the 5.6. The most I go up to is 10.
The health clinic itself has contributed to 14.2 kilos of my weight loss, so that to me is absolute massive help.
The challenges are many, but there's also the triumphs as well.
I've had neuropathy since 2010.
So you will go through a lot of changes, but the positive ones are just incredible. You will dance.
And now I can actually feel if the bottom of my feet is dirty.
And I've broken the 90s barrier and down into the 80s now. 89.9, that's broken the barrier.